We have quite a few folks that are unable to make the program today, and so we want to make sure that they have access to this as well, because we are going to be providing some interesting content and important content for you all, to make sure that you have a good baseline of what Eagle Advantage is. So thanks for hitting record, Derica, and let's go ahead and kind of get through with our content.
Yeah, so of course, as Brittany said, we're going to go over just a refresher up on Eagle Advantage, as well as we are about to begin our list request process. So we're going to we've changed and updated a few things, so we want to make sure that that information is given to you all. So we'll go into that, explain a little bit more about my area and some of the programs and benefits that my area offers, as well as open it up to any questions that there may be.
All right, folks, so Eagle Advantage. So a lot of you may be new to working with us and the University of North Texas, specifically with the Eagle Advantage program. And so I want to talk a little bit about the program itself, some of its inception and some of those details, and that way you have a good idea of what we're talking about and a good baseline. So the Eagle Advantage program began around 2015 with a legislative session that occurred where we wanted to make sure we were increasing college access. And by doing so, one of the things that we did was created a program called Eagle Advantage with school districts that you all are a part of, to opt into this program to allow guaranteed admission for the top 20% of high school juniors. And that allowed students to rest easy their senior year. Know that if they're in that top 20% of their junior class, and they're a part of an Eagle Advantage school, they will automatically get admitted to the University of North Texas. That really should allow some of your students that know they want to come here and really have an experience at the University of North Texas to be able to say, you know what, I don't have to stress about this. I can relax a little bit more, enjoy my senior year, and not have the stress of, oh, am I going to get in? And so when that program began, we signed MOUs, which are memorandums of understanding, with all of our school districts, and those are still valid. Those, we still have them. If you haven't seen those, we will, you can email us and we can send you a copy of yours, but your legal offices should all have them. They've all been signed. They were signed by our university president. They were signed by most superintendents, actually, and going through the legal process with all the districts. So that was actually before I started in this role is when a lot of those things happened. But since my time in this role back in 2019, we have continued to ensure that folks are aware of what Eagle Advantage does and the benefit to your students, and making sure that we're able to get the materials that we need to best support your students. And so in addition to this top 20% guaranteed admissions program, there's a couple of other benefits that Derica will talk about more specifically later that are open to all of your students. So Eagle Advantage in particular, as I mentioned, is the top 20% guaranteed admissions program for your top 20% of high school juniors, not seniors, juniors. And so how that process works for our students, and we'll get into the list request process in a minute, which is where you all come in. But once we receive the top 20% of your high school juniors, students have 3 steps that they need to follow. So the first step is they'll apply to the University of North Texas. Just because we have gotten their names and email address and all that information from you all, they still have to apply. That's going without saying, but some people don't understand that. So I wanted to make sure that that's very clear. So students will be able to apply to the University of North Texas. The UNT application typically opens on July 1. I haven't heard anything of that changing. So you can anticipate for those students, for all of your students, whether they're Eagle Advantage or not, that the application for the University of North Texas, and this would be for fall 2025. Yes, these students, the ones we're talking about, is fall 2025, right? That's still a long time from now, but it's happening. And so those students would be able to apply on July 1, 2024. Okay, so just to throw some things out. So they apply the July before they would start college. So July 2024 is when they would apply. They could apply after that as well. It's not, that's not a deadline, but that's when the application will open. Once students apply to the University of North Texas, they'll then submit any of their supplemental materials that they need. So transcripts, obviously, all of those things. They still have to pay the application fee. That's not something that we can waive or anything like that. But once they've submitted all their materials, they can rest easy knowing that they'll be admitted. And that's, I think, the biggest piece for a lot of our students is they have that fear of like, oh, what if I don't get in, or what am I not, what am I going to do? But by being a part of an Eagle Advantage school, they have the ability to really have some of these decisions kind of made already, and so they don't have to stress about it. And so that's really the benefit for your students is once we get those lists from you all, which we'll talk about in a minute, your students can rest a little easy. So that's from the student perspective. This is what we need from you all. So part of our partnership with you all from a Eagle Advantage perspective is when we sign these memorandums of understanding, there are a couple things that everybody agreed to do. Doesn't matter your school district because everybody signed them. You're on this call because of that. There are, we at this time, and this is just general knowledge for everybody, we haven't added new schools to this agreement. And so it's still a very selective group of ISDs that are a part of the Eagle Advantage program. So no one else has been added in the last few years, at least since I've started, so the last 5 years. And so we want to make sure that you all are aware that this is not just open to everybody. And so we've made sure that that's been something that we're working with admissions on, but it's kind of a long drooling process, as you'll understand in public ed. So we are just working with you all currently right now. So for you all, this is kind of what our timeline looks like. We've updated our timeline not only to be more effective for you all with regards to when we're asking for things. I think in the past we've asked for lists and for information later than works well. It's kind of gotten into the STAR testing timelines and some of those things. And so we've wanted to kind of change that timeline. But also for us, we have programming that Derica will talk about in a little bit that timelines tended to run together. And so this way it's going to be a little bit more effective for everybody. So part of the the MOUs, the memorandum of understandings that we signed, that both parties signed, is that you all, as either the counselors or principals of your school districts that are Eagle Advantage schools, will provide us a list of the top 20% of your high school junior class. In return, we will have the guaranteed admission for those students, and they can kind of rest easy in that sense. There's other benefits, like I said, that Derica will talk about in a minute, but that's where that mutual agreement comes into and that understanding. So we're having this meeting today. Tomorrow, probably before noon, you will get an email from Derica, and it will have a list request on there. In that list request, it will have a letter from us and from our office explaining some of this information a little bit more. It will also have a calendar invitation as to when lists are due. So you can look on your calendar when it pops up on March 1, you're like, oh, I forgot to do this. You remember to do it. But also we have a template, and that template is how we have to then submit the information that you provide us of your top 20% of juniors to our enrollment management folks. And so if possible to stay in that template, giving us as much information as possible, that would be ideal. We then have to go in and make sure that they're all accurate, because our admissions and enrollment folks will not take the data if it's not in the proper template. And so if you could make sure and try your hardest to fit within that template, that would be great. What we ask for is the first name and last name of, and this will all be in the email, so it's okay if you don't have all of it and you're not writing it down. But we ask for the first and last name of the student, obviously the school and the district, which we'll know when it's coming from you all, their email address, addresses if possible, which is always helpful. Birthdays is always really helpful. So it tells you what's in there. It tells you what we need. But at the very bare minimum, we need the student's first name, last name, and email address. Ideally, we're getting their address, their mailing address. And we say this because Eagle Advantage is not only through our office, it's a partnership with us in admissions, but all Eagle Advantage students that are in the top 20% of their junior class get a list from the university president and a couple of other pieces of information that will be beneficial. So that's why we want to make sure it goes to their house and their family members get that information as well. Because we often know that when students get emails or other people get emails, it doesn't always get properly disseminated. And so it's those mailing addresses is really important. So tomorrow you will get that email that'll have all this information again in that email, so you have it. And then we ask by March 1st, that gives you about a month to get those lists sent back to us in that template. Like I said, if it's not exactly in the template, it's okay. We have to go in and make sure that they're all accurate anyway. But if it is, and you can give us as much as possible in that particular template, that would make our lives easier, because it takes us a long time to make sure that they're formatted properly and then get them sent over to our enrollment management folks. We'll send reminders leading up to that March 1st deadline, but we also will accept lists after the March 1st deadline. I also understand working in K through 12 education, not only we're on, the higher ed side of things, but still, education and public ed at that, but also being the spouse of a former teacher and coach and coordinator. It's very difficult to get information sometimes. There's a lot of red tape, so we understand that. So March 1 is not a hard, I don't want to say it's a hard deadline for us, because we will still accept lists after, and your students that you send to us after March 1st will still be eligible for Eagle Advantage. However, March 1st is our deadline, so we can make sure that the information is sent out properly to the students for upcoming events and programs. We have a really big event that Derica will talk about in April, and so April 1st, so we want to make sure that we have content to be able to mail to these people and to email to these people, and so they're not getting information last minute. So March 1st is a deadline, but it's not necessarily a hard deadline, to make sure, okay? So I want to just make sure, there's a couple of things that have come in the chat that I want to answer real quick about this, because they're good questions and they're things I want to cover. Every year we ask for an updated list. So every single year we will have the same email that will come to whoever the contact is. We don't ask for an updated list at the end of the year. And I know that's weird. You can send us an updated list and we can send that over to our enrollment management folks, but we don't ask for it. This is something that the process is not necessarily dictated fully by us. We can change some of our deadlines a little bit, but it's really done through our enrollment management folks. And so we don't ask for an updated list, but you can feel free to send it to us and we can get those additional students that may not have been in that top 20% added. That's totally fine, not a problem at all. The other thing I want to make note of is, depending on your school district will also depend on who handles this information. So for some folks, it is by the campus, and maybe it's the principal or the counselor or the PEIMS coordinator or whoever. Some folks, it is district-wide or district contact. And so in the QR code at the very beginning of this presentation, as well as the link that Derica has in the chat as well, it asks, if you are not the contact, let us know who is. We can still leave you on our newsletter and all of our information, but from a list collection process, we do want to make sure that we're getting the correct people. And so I just wanted to put that out there, that I know that a lot of this is dependent completely on school district. It depends on all kinds of ways that you're structured. And so know that if there is somebody different, just make sure you're filling that out. Fill it out and fill out the link anyway, so we know you're here. But also just fill it out so we know who the correct contact is. Okay. We have some additional times for questions at the end of this as well, so feel free to continue to ask questions throughout. But the last thing I want to talk about in regards to this collection process and Eagle Advantage, before we get more into kind of some of our general programming and what we utilize this information for, is most of our school districts, I say most because there are some that have opted out of this, but those school districts that opted out of this process, we will let you know as we get into the scholarship process. But part of the MOU that the school district signed is the principal or the administrator of each Eagle Advantage school, not district, but each school in the district, that's an Eagle Advantage district or school, however you want to, some are big districts, some are little districts, so I have to kind of clarify there. But each principal has the ability to award a scholarship, one-time $1,000 scholarship to an incoming UNT student. This process on our end, we will have another similar call to this once our list collection process is over, because it's a lot, we understand, so we want to make sure that we're doing one thing at a time. But what we'll do in kind of the March, April timeframe, is we will get a list of from our admissions folks of students that are graduating this year. So your current seniors, right? So switching gears now from your juniors that we're asking for to seniors, that'll be, you know, this group next year kind of thing. So class of 2024. We will get a list from admissions of all the students that have applied to UNT and accepted their admission to UNT that are within that were provided from you all in that top 20%. We'll also get a list and we'll collaborate with our financial aid folks to figure out how much aid these folks are getting. And then that list will then go, of those seniors will go to you all as the contacts, as well as your principals and counselors, depending on who you are, really. And then you'll choose one person and you'll rank your list of students and choose people, or choose an order of folks that you would like to get that $1,000 one-time scholarship. And so we do that for a few reasons. I know some of your schools are giant, and your top 20% could be, you know, 50 students or 100 or 200. And so we give you the information that you need of the students that are admitted to UNT, have accepted their admission, and then the amount of aid they're receiving for you all to then make an informed decision as to what student you would like to award that scholarship to. And like I said, it's a one-time scholarship. It's awarded $500 in the fall and $500 in the spring is how that is divided up. But we put that onus on you all as the administrators and the ones that are helping us with this process to award that scholarship and rank those folks. And so that will come later in this semester for the students that are graduating this year. We try to do that before May 1. And that way, when you have award ceremonies and graduations and that kind of stuff, you can know who your person is. But if you don't send us the information, we will still award a student from your school. So it's few and far between that we get a ton of folks that respond to our email about about their Eagle Advantage students for scholarships, because we know towards the end of the school year things get crazy, and so that's okay. You will still have a student from your school that is awarded. Our financial aid office makes those determinations based on what they're receiving and aid they're receiving to make sure that students are getting help within their within financial means. So they look at some of those things too if you don't provide us with information. Okay, so that's a brief overview. I say brief, but it was like 20 minutes. So a small overview about Eagle Advantage, the list request process, and then a little bit about scholarships. And so what I'd like to do is I'm going to turn it over to Derica to talk a little bit more about our general programming, which is our senior year experience programming, which is not open to just your top 20%. It's open to everybody. And so I'll turn it over to Derica for this piece.
Yes, so just like Brittany just said, these programs are available to everyone. We want to make sure that we are providing resources and access to programs to all students who are interested in going to college. My area of senior year experience is primarily I'm focused on the transition from high school to college and getting students connected to our campus and getting students connected to resources. So just some upcoming events as well. We host monthly virtual senior nights every single month. They've ranged different topics. This past one, we talked about time management, and they were able to hear from student leaders. We have a lot of guest speakers come just to hear from a range of people on campus. Our next one is Thursday, February 8th. From 7 to 8. So this is also we have them in the evening so that their parents, families, supporters can also log on and also receive this information as well. But our next one we will have is about campus connections. So they will be able to hear from our admissions office, our financial aid and scholarships, our UNT housing, as well as just some things as they're tying up their senior year. We want to ensure that some of those timelines and those some upcoming programs and workshops that we have coming up, that they are knowledgeable of those. Our next big program, Brittany kind of touched on it, is Junior Day. So these are for these students that we're asking for these lists from. just to get them on campus a little early and get them connected to some of our amazing resources and services that we have on campus. Junior Day is going to be on Monday, April 1st, and we are doing a soft launch of our registration today. So folks who have filled out our interest form on our website, they are currently getting an email with the registration link, as well as those who have signed up to get our newsletter every single month. We'll be able to receive this link, and this link will be updated on our website within the next couple of days for people to register there. And I would also like to highlight that all of our programs, besides the one I'm going to talk about Senior Day, are free of charge. We want to provide easy access to students and get them connected to our campus and to our resources. And then in a couple months, we'll have Senior Day, and Senior Days are only a program that we offer that is an overnight experience targeted for rising high school seniors. So let's get these juniors that are about to enter their senior year. They get to come onto campus and stay overnight, get connected with some of our amazing student leaders on campus, get connected to those same resources that will have attended and be at Junior Day, but just so that we're continuing to build connection, and they get to get an experience of what college and what that feel of campus life is. So that registration is going to be opening up here fairly soon. We also encourage that you all, as well as students that are subscribed to our monthly newsletter. If you visit our website, the button to subscribe is there, and we do two separate newsletters as well. One specifically for our students, families, and supporters, and then we do another one specifically for administrators, just so that things look a little bit different. We might want to make sure that you all are well informed. And speaking of well informed, we also have an event upcoming for our high school administrators. We're doing an administrators conference. We have hosted in past years principals conference and counselors connections, and those were two separate events, but we are wanting to reach out to a bigger target audience, and also have some collaboration going on, right? So we are hosting administrators conference, and you will all be able to hear from some of our campus partners, hear from some of our amazing student leaders, and hear about their student stories and experiences from that transition from high school to college, as well as have some information sessions about some of the various programs and resources on campus. And registration for this is currently open. It's going to be on next month, literally 1 month away, on March 1st. Here on campus, and that registration is open. I have attached a QR code, but same thing with the attendance link. I'm going to drop it in the chat just for easier access. And that is all that we have on our end for our content. We're going to open it up to any questions that anyone may have.
Can you tell me who the email will be from again that we should be looking for, just so I can write it down?
Yeah, it'll be coming from my email. I know I've been pestering everyone with multiple emails and calendar invitations.
Oh, that's fine. I just wanted to write it down because I know how my brain is.
Yes, and once again, my name is Derica Smith, and Brittany just dropped my email in the chat, so it'll be from me.
One note about these lists too as well, and we'll put this in the content of the email. Some folks like to send us Google Docs of the information, but sometimes we don't get access based on if you're using like your work email or your district email for that. We have to request access through Google, and sometimes it can get convoluted. So if possible to use an Excel spreadsheet, that would be ideal. So even if you use Google Forms or your, Apple Campus or something, if you could download the spreadsheet into Excel, that would be ideal. But if not, if you know that you have to utilize Google Forms, because I know information security and I know we think about those things all the time with FERPA and all those pieces. If you need to utilize a Google Form, that's fine. We'll just make sure we'll reach out to you. It might take a little bit longer for us to get the information, but not a problem. We'll make sure that we get it. So just like I said, Excel is easiest, but if you need to utilize a Google Form for security reasons or other things, we can make it work.
Do you mind repeating the events that are coming up that were on the last slide? Junior Day, did I misunderstand? Is that one for the top 20% kiddos that we're talking about, or anybody?
Yeah, Junior Day is open to also to all high school juniors.
Okay.
And I went back on the slide for all our upcoming events for our students.
Derek, can I add one thing to that real quick? So all of these programs are open to all of your students. So these virtual senior nights that we're doing, these are open to your current seniors, all of your seniors. Junior Day will be open to all of your juniors. Senior Day is going to be for your rising seniors, that overnight program. That's the only one that has a registration fee with it because there is an overnight component. But what I will say is the list that you provide us, that's who we send the marketing to these programs to, because we obviously don't have a list of your entire graduating class or your entire class. But you all can feel free, and we send this information to you all to send it to all of your students. It's fine. It's on our website. It's open to everybody. However, we target your top 20% because we know that they have guaranteed admission, and we want to make sure that they know what resources are available for them. That does not mean at all that only your top 20% are admitted. That does not mean at all that only they are allowed to attend these programs, but it gives us a list of folks to start reaching out to for some of these programs, and we want them to know that they're special in that way. And so typically for Senior Day in particular, we will open registration to those folks before we open registration to our general group of interested people, because we want them to have that first, right of refusal to attend a cool program like that. So that's, some of those additional benefits and advantages, but I want to make that very clear that these are not exclusive at all to your top 20% students. It's not exclusive at all to Eagle Advantage students, but we do give them the benefit of registering early for some of these programs, but also they're the ones that we have lists for. So your students can say, you can have a friend that's in the top 20% getting our emails and their friend wants to come. Great, everyone's invited, come on down, but we just want to make that clear that we utilize these lists in that way. So these your top 20 highest achieving student, top 20% of highest achieving students are able to do this. I know something else I was just thinking of too when I'm talking about top 20% is not every district. I know some districts are getting rid of the ranking process, getting rid of percentages and that whole 9 yards. We will take whatever information you want to give us. So we've had districts in the past that have just done their top 25% and say, that's all we do. Fine, you can send us your top 25%. It's totally fine. Because we can probably guesstimate that most of your top 25% of students are probably going to be in that upper echelon of our admissions process anyway. And so feel free to send us what you're able to send us or what you want to send us, even if you are not ranking students, or if your students are not ranked 20%, you're only doing the top quarter or whatever that looks like for you. So we're flexible in that, and then we can go from there. But just whatever you're able to send us is great, because that gives us a good starting point, especially advertising these upcoming programs.
And I just want to also touch on this slide. This is also additional contact information. Specifically, we are also, I know that sometimes it's easier to just send emails to us because directly, but also just another form of email is our Eagle Advantage email as well, that we also check that email. Also, if you send an email to me or Brittany, we will also respond as well. But just as another form, an alternative, we also have our office phone number with where we're located at on campus. So just for y'all's knowledge. That is all we have for y'all. We will stay on if anyone has any additional questions that they can drop in the chat, or if they just want to chat with us. But other than that, thank you all for joining us. We hope that this information was helpful for y'all as we are gearing up towards this facilitating this list request process. We appreciate y'all's partnership and working with us.